Real Madrid followed up their Clasico win midweek with a draw to Osasuna, 0-0 it finished. So it was always going to be interesting to see what happened in their game against Elche today, especially without Karim Benzema, who wasn't in the squad for Carlo Ancelotti. So, Janusz, Mariano came in. We did see Rodrigo and Vinny Junior up top with him. Real Madrid won 2-1. It was tense at the end, though. Did they miss Benzema?
Well, of course. I mean, that's an easy one to say. They missed him, but I think they missed his presence, right? I mean, you can go to the fact that he's got 9 goals. Although we get to Vinny Junior because he's been sensational. He's got 7 now, so second in terms of the top goal scorers in La Liga behind Benzema. We'll get to him in a second, but I think you do miss his presence because he brings others into the game a little bit more. And I think if you Elche, you pay attention to him in a different way than you would to Mariano Diaz. Now, Mariano Diaz wasn't bad, right? I mean, he had that flick on for the first goal. He had a chance right after that from a bad angle, but I think he had a chance to score, if you remember, maybe a minute or two after they went ahead. But, he's been such a disaster, such a high-profile buy for Real Madrid. Let's not forget, they've been trying to get rid of him. He's been kind of lazy, really. I mean, if you ask Real Madrid fans, as you would know, of course, he's kind of sitting on his money, didn't want to go anywhere. I mean, when was the last time he's played? It's been like ages, of course. So credit to Carlo Ancelotti. I think he's just such a nice man. He may be the only man that kind of gives everybody a chance, no matter how bad they are in a way, because he has been. So, to look at that, of course they missed him, but I think they've had enough. But it wasn't as straightforward as I thought it would be, even without Benzema in this match.
Okay, so you mentioned Vinny Junior. As time goes on, he is looking more and more lethal at 21 years old and more reliable for Real Madrid too.
Yeah, I mean, it's this composure, right? For young players, that's so difficult, especially when you play for such a high-profile team, right? Because the expectations are there. And I think that, for him, it's been great because he always gets to those places, but in the past hasn't been able to finish. And somehow we criticize him and everybody else, Real Madrid fans criticize him for that. But that's the hardest part of the game, right? I always gave him credit for kind of creating or getting in right spots for him. And it seems really overnight, don't you think, hey? Like when he overnight, all of a sudden, he gained that composure. It's hard for me to put a finger on how that happened. I think it's a little bit of momentum, a lot of confidence, because the way he finishes those, right? Like today, that second goal, and we've seen both goals today, but the I think the second one in particular, and even the previous games, those are tough finishes. It's not like they're sitters or tap-ins for him. So maybe it's confidence, maybe it's the quality of Vinny Junior, and maybe it's just that talent that he's finally getting to. So a tremendous watch, really, when you see what he's been able to do, and I'm kind of always happy for players like that because I've been hammering him as much as anybody else, really, for the lack of finishing.
Yeah, so lay off him now, all right, Janusz. But it was tense, as I mentioned, in those final stages. Elche did manage to pull a goal back, and it almost looked as though they were going to equalise as well. So just give you some food for thought for Real Madrid, doesn't it?
Yes, I think it's one of those games where you do go away. I think it shows the quality of the Liga. It really does. We can talk about every league and, the smaller teams. I mean, and there are some small teams in the Liga over the years, right? And you think to yourself, well, who cares? People just don't watch them and make assumptions that this should be easy. I think you and I watching them over the years know that it's not. Look, I mean, the midfield's been good. It's not great just yet, but look, I look at somebody like Casemiro, the ball he played, the one-touch ball for the first goal. I mean, that's unbelievable, right? And then Luka Modric, the through ball. We've seen that in the last 2 or 3 games where he just releases players, and Toni Kroos was involved in that second goal as well. Yes, I know you're going to probably tell me about Casemiro and a square ball. He's old enough and experienced enough to know not to play square balls.
He's tired, though, I think,
anywhere on the pitch, right? And of course, that's what allowed really 10-man Elche at that stage to come back in this game. So, but I think I've seen over the last 2 or 3 games when Toni Kroos has been back, that midfield maybe on the older side, but it's very, very experienced, and it's the heart and soul of this Real Madrid team.
Talking about players on the older side, just to finish, we will give a mention to Marcelo. He started today. Doesn't look as though we'll be seeing him next season. But how wonderful and what an ambassador he's been for this club over the years, Janusz.
Yes, he has been. It's that position. I think Roberto Carlos started that, right? It's sort of that attacking left full. I'm a fullback. I wasn't allowed to pass halfway line in my day, and Roberto Carlos and Marcelo were not allowed to defend. I think they're only spending time in the attacking end of the pitch and don't defend. I'm joking a little bit because obviously they know how to do it, and he's been incredible. I mean. Just look how many trophies he's won. It's incredible. I did that a few months ago. I've already forgotten, but one of those players that forever will be etched in the history of Real Madrid.
Yeah, Real Madrid back on top after a tight win over Elche.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.